Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's 3D modeling tool webinar, where we'll be talking about some of the various tools that Alum makes available to you and how to use them to import 3D models into SketchUp. It's a really useful feature that's getting more and more popular nowadays, and it's really got some high potential to help you sell more projects. And that's what we're going to push today. We're going to talk about how to use the tools not only to spit back a good looking 3D model of what you're designing, but also how to sell that to a customer and really how to use visualization as a tool itself to get people to buy more projects or commit to them sooner on. So, getting started with the presentation, we want to talk about why 3D modeling is becoming so big. And lots of it has to do with these networks like the Do-It-Yourself Network, the DIY Network, and HGTV, or the Home and Garden TV station. And basically, both of these networks have several TV shows on them where contractors or landscape designers, house designers, anything like that, they all use 3D models to help customers visualize what their projects will look like before they commit to them. It gives those customers a great idea of how their house is going to look, how their backyard is going to look, anything like that, where these customers are spending a lot of money on these projects. They want to make sure that what they are getting is worth the money that they're paying. So with that, like you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner here, HGTV especially uses SketchUp as their 3D modeling tool very often. SketchUp is what we use for our 3D modeling tool, and it really just does a good job of being a relatively simple 3D modeling tool that gets very in-depth as well. We'll talk about it a little later and why we decided to use SketchUp for our 3D modeling tool, but it's just important to know that these networks have made it kind of the standard in our industry, and without 3D models, you're going to start falling behind your customers, start falling behind your competition, and your customers won't be getting the visualization that they might get elsewhere. But with that, like I said, we've got a few different tools of ours that are available on our website for you to download for free that can help you design these retaining walls and get a good visualization of them. Each of these tools that I'm going to talk about here also have very professional outputs that you can hand to your customer that have full estimates of the wall and also have a few details about what their projects will entail, any tips and tricks they might need, and all of that. So getting into it, the first tool we're going to talk about is the AB Retaining Wall app. So the AB Retaining Wall app is great for people to really design walls that are going to be up to 6 feet in height. It's going to provide you with kind of two-dimensional drawings for your plan view, your elevation views, as well as your section views. One of the emails that it'll send back has a full estimate as well. That'll tell you your block estimate, your grid estimate, as well as your rock and infill estimates. And then really it's just going to up that professionalism with that output. We send that to you in an email within a couple minutes, and basically it's something that's presentable to your customer that you can just straight print it off right there on the spot and just hand it over to them, and it's going to be very comprehensive. It's going to look very professional, like I said, and very easy and time saving. That's probably the biggest, most important thing. But with that, we're going to go into a quick tutorial of how to use it. Once you open up the tool, you'll come across this home page here, and you'll notice in the top right corner there's an option that says Create Your Own Wall. Now when you click that option, you're going to come to this next page here where you're going to basically put in dot-to-dots of your wall. Actually, to make this a little easier, I'm actually going to run this on my computer just so you're able to see it. I'm going to click Create Your Own Wall. And like I said, you're just going to create a dot-to-dot of your bird's eye view of your wall. So the example I'm going to do is just kind of a zigzag wall. So we'll click a point there, click one down here, come back up here, and finish off back down here. So you can see we've got a little zigzag wall here. It's worth noting that the grid is a 3-foot by 3-foot grid, and that's so that you can take this app to your customers' basically backyard. And if you've got it on your cell phone or iPad, your iOS device basically, if it's Apple, you can actually pace out the wall or the footprint of the wall that they're looking for right in their backyard. So when you do that, after you create your bird's eye view, you can fine tune it with this XY button and see point 1. If I want point 1 to start exactly on 9 in my X and 9 in my Y, just type that in, click close, and it moves it to the exact point. I can do that for each of my points, but for the purposes of this presentation, I'm just going to leave them how they are right now. But once all my points are in place, I click the green forward button, and we're going to choose our elevation at each point. So you click this Z button here, and you can see at each of those 4 points that I inputted, we're going to set the elevations. So at point 1, we're currently at 4 courses, or 2.6 feet for our retaining wall. I'm going to raise that up a bit. We're going to go up to 7 courses, or 4.5 feet. And I'm going to go to each of my points and raise up the top of the wall to be 7 courses. Now it's worth noting, you can also lower your top of wall, or you can raise or lower your bottom of wall as well. But once you have the elevations that you like, you can go ahead and close this and click the green forward button again. And that's going to bring up some information about what you have at the top of your wall. Do you have a level surface above your wall? Do you have a slope above? Or do you have a surcharge like a patio or a driveway above your wall? We're going to go ahead and choose level grade above wall. Click the next button, and we choose our soil. I'm going to choose clay soils here. And you'll notice that it's automatically going to throw in curves into our wall instead of those mitered corners. So our zigzag becomes kind of a curved wall, an S shape, serpentine wall. And the reason for that is because this app is available for homeowners, and oftentimes, we're always going to suggest that a homeowner or even most walls get designed as curved walls rather than straight mitered corner walls. And that's because then you don't have to worry about any cut block. You're actually helping the structural stability of the wall, and really it flows more nicely than those jagged corners. So once we have the design, we click the green forward button again, and then we just have to type in our email. Our zip code, and make sure that we have the send me a SketchUp file is checked. Then we click free design packet, opens up a browser thanking us for submitting the project, so we get a little confirmation. And then we're going to get 2 emails back. Now, those 2 emails are going to contain what is called a Ruby script. So it'll look something like this. And with that Ruby script, you're going to want to save that somewhere on your computer that we can reach in just a little bit. The other thing it's going to include is going to be a PDF packet. And what we do here is if we look at the packet and we open it up, it's going to contain a few things. We're going to have this cover page right off the bat. Again, looks very professional. It's got a nice image on it. It's got some information. But then after that, it's going to have a plan view of our wall. It's going to have our panel view, our elevation view. It's going to have cross sections for our wall. And it's going to have full estimates. Now, the nice thing about the estimates is that it doesn't include only one type of block. It's actually going to include quite a few of our collections that we have, basically all of the collections that we have available for retaining walls. And that's awesome because it's going to allow them to make the decisions on what products they're interested in. So they can, you can show them all the different block types we have, and they actually get to choose what they want for this project. Now, some nice things about the retaining wall app is that it's going to give them that full professional output in just a few minutes. they can add more options by showing off those estimates, the different types of block estimates, all in the same packet. So it doesn't add any more work. They're going to get those preliminary estimates to give their customers a good idea of what the project is going to cost or what they might need. And once we bring it into SketchUp with that Ruby script, they're going to get a great visualization of what their wall looks like. Now, going into the second app that we have, that's called our Alum Block Courtyard app. Again, available for free on our website. And I will include links to these tools in the follow-up email that I send tomorrow. But basically, you're going to do the same thing here. You click on this Create Your Own Patio, and then you choose the dimensions of your patio. This one's a little different. We've got 1 foot by 1 foot grids, and basically you just drag your corner of your patio to exactly where you want it. You can put in the exact dimensions here, but then you just click that green arrow button to move forward. Then you select which sides you want your walls to be on. So you click these little arrows here, and that'll add a wall on that section of the patio. And then once you get to the next page, you actually get to choose where you want your openings to be. So we've split all of the sides into 3s, and basically you just click on an arrow and it'll open that side up. We do limit it to 1 opening per side, but you can kind of modify it with these dimensions here. Now when you go to the next page, you've got all of these little blue circles here, and each blue circle you can click on it to cycle through a bunch of different end-of-wall options or corner components. So you can see on the corners here, you can cycle through corners or curves. You can throw in a post on the corner. You can throw in a fireplace, anything like that. On the end components, you can have a post there. You can put a step down here. You can put a normal split face end there as well. Or sometimes you can throw in, depending on where your end is, you can throw in a fireplace. Once you click that green arrow, it takes you to the next page where you go and adjust what the height that you want your posts to be. You can adjust also how high you want your seating walls to be. It's important to note that our Courtyard product, each block is 6 inches tall. So if you have a 6-course post, that's going to be 3 feet tall. So always be aware of that. Our caps are about 3 inches as well, so that's going to add some height on top of the block as well. But once you've chosen your heights, you click the green arrow to move on. You get a brief estimate here. It's just going to have some quick information. And then you do the same thing where you type in your email, you type in your zip code, and you make sure that Send Me Files to use a SketchUp is selected. And with that selected, you go ahead and click Free Design Packet. You'll get a confirmation that just says that we got your submission. And then again, you're going to get 2 emails. You're going to get that Ruby script, which if you guys remember, we're going to take that and we're going to save it somewhere on our computer. And then we're going to get a PDF. And on that PDF, if we were to open it up, we'll see something very similar to the retaining wall portion where we've got a very professional looking cover page. We've got the plan view of our courtyard. We've got another good estimate here, so it's going to tell you all the blocks you'll need. And then we've got some building tips and tricks. So whether you include that in the packet that you show your customer or not is up to you. But it does have a bunch of different tips and tricks on how to use the product and how to properly install it. So this information would be good for you to take on site if you guys do any installing work as well. But really the Courtyard app has a lot of the same benefits that the retaining wall app does. It's going to have that full professional output in just a few minutes of work. We're going to get very good images of what the patio will look like, especially once we get into the SketchUp export. It's going to allow them to really see what that patio will look like. And then also those building tips, if you leave them in, they can be great for the homeowner to kind of troubleshoot their own issues if they have them. Or if you guys are installing, you can take them out and bring them with you when you do install. So that's the Courtyard app that we have. And lastly, I'm not going to get into it, but AB Walls is an app that we have to use for basically our designing engineers. It gets a little more in depth and gets into the engineering side of things, but you guys don't really need to worry about that one. Now, I'm going to take a minute here to talk about SketchUp. You've heard me mention it a few times. If you're not familiar, SketchUp is a 3D modeling software. It used to be owned by Google. Google actually started it out, and it is now actually owned by a company called Trimble. And basically, the reason that we decided to use our extension in SketchUp is for a variety of reasons. The biggest one is just that a lot of installers, a lot of contractors, a lot of dealers, and a lot of landscape designers were already using SketchUp in the industry. So several of them are already creating backyards from scratch using SketchUp, but we wanted to make it even easier for those guys. With a few clicks, they can just import these walls that they already designed, and they can go straight into their existing models. Now, the other reason that we decided to use SketchUp was because they actually have the ability to create plugins. So us as developers are able to create a plugin or an extension inside of SketchUp that you guys can all download and use free of charge inside of SketchUp. And that's actually going to allow you to bring in those Ruby scripts that we exported from our tools. And so, like I said, SketchUp, one of the great things about it is that you can actually take your models and add them into existing models. So if we had already, done kind of the landscape work in the houses and all of that work for this project you see here, and all we had to do is bring in the retaining wall, we could design that out inside the retaining wall app, and then we can just import it straight into our model here. With SketchUp, another one of its main benefits is that they have a very huge, very large user base. It's very community driven, and as part of that, they've got what's called a 3D warehouse. So that 3D warehouse allows users to create models, very in-depth models, and they can basically upload them for other users to use free of charge and to download and kind of customize as they see fit. So you can actually see in this image here the houses, the trees, the cars, and even this person here are all models that were created by other people, and all we did was download them from the 3D warehouse inside of SketchUp. So we're really limiting the amount of work we had to do. And in this model, because the retaining wall was exported from our tools, we downloaded the houses, the trees, the cars, and the person. The only 3D modeling we actually had to do was to create these sidewalks and this driveway. So it's very, very easy to incorporate your retaining walls into previously designed projects. Very easy to add in elements and other models that have been created by other people, so you don't have to spend time on those. But really, this tool is used for all of our different customer groups. You guys as dealers and landscape architects, landscape designers, it's very easy for you to use these tools to sell to customers, help them visualize their projects. That's where it's going to be most handy. Contractors will use it for that purpose as well. Designers and engineers can use it for the BIM or building information modeling aspect of it. So basically, it's got uses with all of the different industry folks in the segmental retaining wall or kind of landscape design industry as a whole. So we do encourage you guys to work with your your contractors, your designing engineers, and kind of collaborate on these 3D models if you need to help provide customers with a more in-depth project. And kind of as a goal of ours that we had when we started this was that we wanted to be able to take all of our tools and bring them into one place. So SketchUp really allowed us to do that with this export and the Allan Block 3D modeling tool. Is when we designed that, we now had a spot where you could bring in retaining walls that you designed and combine them with patio projects that you designed. And as you can see here in this model, we have a great way to design these all together and really get your customer to visualize these projects. So you can see we've brought in a retaining wall in the back here, and then we've also got our courtyard patio in front here as well. So we combine the two designs together into one fluid design that we can show a customer and really get them to start thinking about their own backyard. In this model here, again, we've got some retaining walls down low here with a courtyard wall on top, some posts there. We've got a courtyard wall here. And the real benefit of this is to sell it as visualization. This is how you're going to get more projects sold. This is how you're going to get people to commit to projects earlier on in the process. Basically, you're going to say, hey, just imagine yourself here. If this is your house here, you've got a nice exit straight onto the patio where you can entertain some guests. You know, on a nice hot summer night, you can have dinner out here. You can grill at the grill and then bring it over to the table to eat. And once everyone's done with dinner, you can walk over to the fireplace and roast some marshmallows over it, and really get them to feel like they're in the design. You know, if you're able to have a situation that looks something like their backyard or like the application that they'll be putting it in, really just to hit home that this is something that you could have in your backyard. Visualization is key. And it always helps to tell a story with it too. So if you've got a customer who's looking for a backyard that they're able to garden in, but let's say they're getting a little older so they can't bend down to those grade level gardens anymore. What we can sell them on is say, hey, well, why not try a terraced wall here and, to hold back your land, get a little extra usable space. But you can actually also throw in some topsoil in between your courses or in between your two terraces, and you can have a little garden there as well. So then you don't have to bend over to finish out your garden or to water your plants, and you can do everything at a comfortable level. So always use that story in there as well and get them to, again, visualize themselves actually gardening there, and they can see themselves saying, hey, I can see this in my backyard and I can see where this is a benefit. Now another useful thing is we also have pre-designed patio packages as well. So some of these are designs that are already made and available on our website for 3D models that you can just bring into your model on their own. But they also have step-by-step instructions on how to build these from it starts on the first course, and it tells you exactly where each type of block goes, which way it faces, and it tells you the exact number of blocks you'll need for that design in the backyard. So that's always a benefit as well. So it's really situations like this that we're trying to get customers to see. Again, you can see where we pulled together some courtyard posts with a retaining wall in front, a retaining wall in back, and a retaining wall up top as well. So that's 1, 2, 3 walls that we imported and some posts, and the rest are models that we took from the 3D warehouse that other designers and other 3D model makers made available to you to download for free. Now, SketchUp itself has a few options that we're going to talk about. So first of all, it's nice to know that you can download SketchUp from this URL right here, the sketchup.com/download/all, and that'll allow you to basically go to their website and you can download all the different options they have. So the first option I'm going to talk about is their Pro version of SketchUp. The Pro version is going to be more for those diehard users of SketchUp, the people who are making money off of this and really selling these designs. That's a great version to have, and if you find that it's in your budget to do that and you find that it's going to be useful, I highly encourage you to get the Pro version. Now, the model that I would tell you to start off using is actually the Sketchup Make 2017. That's the last version that they have available that's considered a hobbyist version. Basically, it's a free version of the software that you guys can download and use as kind of a feeler for the 3D modeling software there. You can play around with it. It's got almost the full functionality that you'll get with the Pro version, minus just a few features, but you can use it with our 3D modeling tool as well. So it's going to be very beneficial for you to say, hey, I've gotten to use the hobbyist version, and I think it's well worth my money to purchase the pro version and kind of invest into that. But we also have these really helpful reference guides that I'm going to attach in a follow-up email to this presentation. I'll send it out tomorrow. And this reference card is really just going to have step-by-step instructions on how to install our extension inside of Sketchup and how to actually install Sketchup as well. It's also going to have a few kind of tips and tricks on using Sketchup and the best way to use our extension inside of there. Now, Sketchup, again, if you guys are using it for the first time, I understand that it can be have a little bit of a steep learning curve, but really the easiest way to get over that hump is going to be to go to YouTube and just search out Sketchup tutorial. And you're going to get a bunch of these series that are just mini series on how to use Sketchup. And by going through these videos, you can become pretty proficient in Sketchup very quickly. That's what I did to learn Sketchup, and I learned it in less than a week. I was very comfortable using it and creating my own designs inside of Sketchup. But like I said, with the 3D modeling tool inside of Sketchup, we've actually got an extension in there, and they have what's called an extension warehouse. So if you follow along on that reference guide that I'll send out tomorrow, it's going to tell you step-by-step instructions on how to get to the extension warehouse. Then all you have to do is search Allan Block 3D modeling tool. You'll click on the first result, and then inside of that page you'll have a download option. You'll have a bunch of information on how to use the 3D modeling tool, some help files as well, just kind of informational topics. But once you do install that on your computer, you're going to get basically a little tab inside of Sketchup that says extensions, and the Allan Block 3D modeling tool, if you click on that, will bring up a custom toolbar inside of Sketchup. We'll get into how to use these different toolbars in just a second here. But really, it's just an easy way to export those designs that you created into SketchUp. Now, what I want to talk about here really quick is what's called the Sketchup Viewer App. Now, this is something that you can download on your iPad or your iPhone or your Android devices as well. But basically, what it allows you to do, the Sketchup Viewer App, is to view 3D models that you've created on your phone. And where it starts off already as a benefit, you're able to see your 3D model and show a customer that. But what you can actually do is if you have the Pro version that's $9.99 per year, you can actually show them their wall in a real life situation through the camera on their phone. We'll get into an example of that in just a little bit here. But basically, the models you're seeing right here are all models that we created and exported from our retaining wall app. So you can see we've got some walls here, and where it becomes useful is where you use that AR feature to put that wall on top of an existing wall or inside your customer's backyard to really show them what the wall is going to look like in their exact space. So getting started with it, we're gonna go through an example of a Courtyard Patio project. So you can see here we've got an export from our Courtyard app. Already you can imagine how this would be very useful to a customer by being able to visualize what that patio looks like. But what gets really cool is if you click this AR button and you have the Pro version of the Sketchup Viewer app, it's going to open up your camera on your phone. It's going to give you instructions that say, okay, aim your camera at a large flat surface. I went outside to a golf course, but you could do this in your customer's backyard. You're going to scan around, pan your camera around to scan. And then all you have to do is get as close to the surface that you're going to be placing it on. And then once your camera is close to that surface, you tap it to anchor it in place. And then you back up, and you can see how now we're inside our design with our phone camera. Now I can walk all the way around my design. I can walk out of it, turn around, and look at it from a distance. you can imagine how in a customer's backyard, you can do this and show them this patio, or if you did this with a retaining wall, you could show them that design in place. And you even get in detail enough to where you can look inside of the fireplaces and really get super detailed with this show off. It's always a good idea, I think, like this, to come out from afar and kind of take a look at it from a distance. So super cool application of SketchUp and how you can use these 3D models to get a customer to see the projects in their own backyard. Really quickly, we talked about the retaining wall app and the Courtyard app. Those can both be downloaded just on the Alum Block website, but I'll include links to download them from in that basically that follow-up email that I send out tomorrow as well. But let's go ahead and give it a shot in exporting into SketchUp. So basically, if I open up SketchUp, I have 2 Ruby files that I already saved in the past, just so that we can save some time and don't have to go through our own designs. But basically, it's as easy as clicking the Extension tab, clicking the Alum Block 3D modeling tools. Then we're just going to click this folder button on top. We're going to click AB Collection. We'll start with the retaining wall. We're going to go with an ashlar pattern wall. We will go with a double brown blend. And we're just going to click Open File. Open File is going to allow us to click that retaining wall Ruby script that we saved from our email. We'll click Open, and in just a few seconds, it's going to load in 3D models of our cross-section of our wall, and it's going to load in our retaining wall that we designed. So this is the retaining wall that I designed beforehand, but you can see it's fully textured here. We've got really everything already textured out, so you don't have to worry about finding the correct scales for any of our textures. Really, it just looks nice and professional already. But let's say your customer looks at this texture and they say, I kind of want to go with a full-size block and not the patterned wall. What you can do is you can just highlight it all. You can click the Move button, and you can move it out of the way. And then you can come in and just click that folder button again. You can change your pattern. I'm going to go with the Europa collection, the Dover full size, that tumbled look. We'll stick with the brown blend and click Open File. We're just going to click that exact same retaining wall Ruby script. We click Open, and again, in just a few seconds, we've got a whole nother retaining wall here. And you can see it's fully textured again, and with that full-size block. And what's very valuable that you can do for your customers is actually just move it right next to it, and you can start comparing the two and have them decide which one they like of the two. And you can really do that for as many options as we have inside of this folder button. Now, I'll get into a Courtyard project here. I'm going to do the exact same steps, except I'm going to switch to our Courtyard collection. I'm going to design with Yorks. We'll keep it as a brown blend to match our wall, and click Open File. Now, when I click Open File, I'm going to click on that Courtyard Ruby script that I saved from the email, and I'm going to click Open. Now, again, in just a few seconds, we've brought in our Courtyard that I designed a while ago. I did a step down at the top opening, some posts on the right-hand opening, and just a split end on the left-hand side. But again, you can see we'd put in a default paver here, but you can always texture it with your own type of paver that you want to do. But really, you could see how fast we brought in a 3D model from those Ruby scripts. Now, this is one thing to be able to just show the customer their wall, but what you'll notice is if you look at the time on my computer, it's 10:36 right now. Now we're going to try to make this into a very professional looking output. So I'm just going to do some work in SketchUp really quickly. I'm just going to make a rectangle. I'm going to paint it with grass. I'm going to move my patio that I that I designed. I'm going to put it on my wall here. Obviously, our design doesn't make too much sense in this situation, have an opening right into the wall. But then I'm going to use this star button. That's our favorites button, and it's going to take you to the Alum Block website where you can actually download models from that 3D warehouse I was talking about. So I like these hydrangeas. I'm going to click 3D warehouse. It's going to take me to a link where I can download a 2017 model. Then I just have to take my download and drag it straight into my SketchUp file, and it puts it right actually wherever we click. So I'm just going to copy this a few times, and you guys will notice I'm going through this pretty fast, but as you go through the SketchUp tutorials, it's actually, this is going to be something that you'll realize is very easy to do. So I'm just putting a few hydrangeas above my wall. So we've got some flowers there. I think we'll go back to our browser and let's go ahead and add a few trees. Click 3D Warehouse, click Download, 2017 model. Same deal here. We're just going to, from our downloads, drag those trees straight into our model, and then we're just going to copy a few options into our retaining wall, or in front of our retaining wall. Let's go back to that favorites, and we'll go to patio tables. We'll add a little table to our patio. Download, SketchUp 2017 model again. And now none of these models, these are all models that other people created, so I don't have to waste my time learning how to model these things. A lot of these are very complex models, so I don't want to spend the time to, like this model here, to do all of these components would take hours. But with that 3D warehouse, I'm able to just import that straight into my wall. Now, I think I want to add a little something to our courtyard patio, maybe a bench right here. So to do that, I'm going to actually click on Kits. Now the kit option, if we open up our browser, is going to have options for our patio packages, which basically have our pre-designed patio packages that I was talking about before. But they also have what's called elements. And these are all things made from the Courtyard product that I can add straight into my model. So I'm actually going to go ahead and maybe I'll add a little tiny bench to our wall. So I'm just going to download that like everything else. And like we've been doing from the downloads, I'm just going to drag it straight onto our model. And then I'm going to rotate it. And then I'm going to move it against this flat portion of the wall. So now we've got our bench there. We've got some hydrangeas above the wall. We added some trees. We added this patio table, and you see it's 10:41. So in 5 minutes, we brought in all of these designs, and now we've got kind of something professional that we can show a customer and say, hey, is this kind of what you're looking for your backyard? Give them a good idea of what their project should look like. If we want to soup it up a little bit more, we can always click on View, and we can click on Shadows, and that's actually going to add some shadows to get a little more detail. If we want to get rid of these lines here, we just go to View, we go to Edge Style, View, Edge Style, and I'm going to turn off all the edges. And we get rid of those lines in front. But you guys can imagine how useful something like this is to show your customers and to really get them excited about these projects. You can imagine if if a customer were to see this, they would say, hey, like that looks really cool, and they fall in love with it, and they get committed to projects much sooner in the process. So that's really how to most beneficially use the 3D modeling tool along with our other tools as well inside of SketchUp. And I encourage you guys to really play around with the software, with SketchUp itself, and our estimating tools and designing tools, and just get familiar with it. Try it on a few projects, show it to a few customers, and really see how well it works to sell more projects. But that takes us to the end of our presentation. You saw how in just 5 minutes we created a very professional looking output that we can show customers. And if you do have any questions on this presentation, feel free to reach out to me or to anyone else here at Allan Block, and we'd be happy to answer your questions. You can also respond to the email that I send out tomorrow as kind of a follow-up to all of this. It'll have links to a lot of the things that we talked about, as well as some resources that you can use for tips and tricks. But I want to thank you guys again for taking the time to sit through this presentation, and I hope you guys are able to use it to sell more projects. But with that, I will go ahead and end the presentation, and I look forward to you guys using these designs.